Okay, we brought the knife out of the drawing oven in there and we've cooled it down. So that's the color we're shooting for. That if you can see that, it's just a mix of straw color with that purplish blue, which just indicates that the steel was brought up to the proper temperature to draw some of that brittleness out and still retain some hardness and some flexibility. Now I wish that this were a more durable finish on the steel right now, because it's rather pretty, but it isn't. This would literally buff off with this light pass on the emery wheel, so it's not even as durable as, say, gun bluing. So we're going to clean the blade up, and then we're going to get ready to put the handles on. Okay, I scrubbed some of the heat discoloration off the appearance ends of the knife, because I blew these before I put the handles on, and before I blew them, I go ahead and put the logo on. So we're ready to do that now, so I got my stencil attached. Alright, I'm going to get this cleaned off and I'll show it to you. Alright, there's the logo. Turned out nice and sharp, and thought I'd show it to you now because when we put bluing on this blade, of course it kind of makes the logo disappear, although it's there for the life of the knife. But anyway, now we're going to be cleaning this off really well, chemically clean. We're going to go with lacquer thinner and maybe a little bit of brake cleaner or acetone. Anything that's going to get all the grease off this knife. And then we're going to be bluing it. Be back. Alright, that is 3 or 4 coats, applications of bluing with a good steel wooling in between each coat. So we've got the knife finish where we want it. So now I put some oil on it after the bluing process just to stop the reaction, but I'm getting ready to clean all that back off with some lacquer thinner. So before we move over there and get the handle scales glued on, I'm going to take a diamond file and I'm going to score the surfaces of the tang and then the surfaces of these handle blanks that I've prepared. If you notice, they're finished on the ends at each end, and then of course we'll finish these edges after they're all glued up. So I have my carbon fiber pins ready to go, and I'm going to clean and underscore the insides of these scales so they'll really adhere to the epoxy. And we'll be back over in the rotary vise here in just a second, getting this thing into epoxy, and then in about 18 hours we'll be dressing this thing down and getting it finished. Now while it is in epoxy, I may be moving over to the leather room, and I have this designed down to patterns, so I can pop out a sheath of this thing while it is curing. So when we get the knife finished, it'll be ready to box up and ship down to Tennessee. Okay, here we are. We're scuffed up. Everything has been cleaned. I've cleaned my hands with lacquer thinner, so everything is prepared. Just finishing mixing this epoxy. Alright, so we're going to start out with a good healthy coat on this side. Alright. So I'm going to get one pin prepared like I always do. Get a nice coating of epoxy on it. These carbon fiber pins really adhere to the epoxy very well. So we'll get that started through. And that just helps me locate the first scale. I push it down. And we'll roll it this way just a little bit. I'm going to get the second side of the tang buttered up real well. This will help me locate the second scale. There we are. Now we'll just go one by one and get our pins smeared with epoxy and placed down through the holes. I just put moderate pressure on these clamps, so I don't want to push out all the epoxy I just put on. So make sure I get them down firmly into the scale. Okay, that's it. One knife in epoxy. So we're going to get some lacquer thinner and get some of this excess cleaned off, and then I'll be moving into the leather room to start work on the sheath.